Hello, everyone in 380 or 500. Hope you've survived your first week of classes. Definitely been a unique experience. I think probably like no other in, I guess, Shepherd's history. It's Dr. Allen. We're in the week two. We're going to actually start fooling around with a little bit of technology and a little more detail this week. Um, First week was kind of to get everyone kind of rolling. First off, art selfies were fantastic. Um, I think we had some people that were matching in the 60s and 70%, which is actually pretty high. That's just something fun to kind of get us going with, so to speak, with the technology aspect. But of course, that's a great activity if you're in an art class or even a history, social studies class, just to kind of get some background information and such. But with all that being said, this is our first, I guess, lecture. Few things before I kind of get going. One, I guess I've been worrying a little bit about this, not just with this class, but being such a weird semester. I just want everyone to know, flexibility and availability are kind of my key words this time. So if you need to meet with me, talk with me, anything like that, feel free to email me. We can Zoom. You can stop by my office. We'll set something up. I've been trying to be good about checking email and getting back with people when they have questions. I'm pointing at my home computer there. But if I'm not within a few hours, usually, I mean, I say give myself a day, but usually within a few hours, I can usually get back with people. I try to check multiple times in the morning and afternoon, and a time or two in the evening. Um, if you're having any problems, make sure with, especially once we start with doing the tech, do not stress yourself out. Just reach out. We'll make something work. I also do some Zoom sessions with my other classes that were supposed to be live and now have went online. You're welcome to pop into one of those. I can send you the links if there's one day that you need a little bit of help with something. Just email me. With that being said, I am going to show you a few things with tech. Um, I am just going to flow through this. So, just like I said with the intro, there's going to be some ums and ums and maybe a little bit of pauses while I look for things. Um, I just think it's the best way to do it because if not, it's a little more like a regular class, warts and all. So, with that being said, I'm going to share my screen so you don't have to look at this unshaven face any longer, or at least in a little smaller version you can if you're dying to. And as you can see, I'm going to go ahead and pull up our class. We're in week two. This is kind of like every week you're going to see a setup like this. I am going to have the video that we're recording now replace this one. This is the one I did last time. I didn't do it with my face, and I think this one will be a little more detailed and kind of tackles a little different stuff. But you kind of get the general idea. The rest of this is all there, and I just want to make sure we're on the same page with some things. Each week I'll make sure there is a listing. This is off of the syllabus, but this week we're going to talk about integrating tech into the classroom, creating a classroom website. I'm also going to spend a few moments on the 5 minds for the future that was on the discussion board for the first week. But make sure you've looked over that if you haven't already in this book. Mine's blue. I don't know what color yours is. And I did want to kind of touch on these 21st century skills. I know I have that handout as to what they are. Anything in this book is kind of talks about a 21st century skill too. It's teacher talk. I'd love to put it any other way. And you don't hear the phrase quite as much as you did in the early 2000s, but I think the concepts are good and they do kind of translate or connect to technology type things pretty well. So, it's a good book, collection of articles. Someone had actually asked, where are the articles? They're all in here. Everything on the discussion board will be in here in the chapters. Just make sure you're reading the right article because I did skip an article or two that I didn't think related quite as well. The technology we're going to be looking at this week, you're going to kind of have your choice. That's one thing I try to do with this class with the technology. One thing when you do with any technology, especially in education, a lot of it is just trying to, I don't want to say learn it on your own, but you have to fiddle with it a little bit and tinker with it. We're going to build a website. One thing I'll say, and I'll probably say it about 5 times in this video, but I'll try to limit it to this time. The websites, they used to be a really big deal. They're starting to kind of phase out a little bit because a lot of school districts are starting to go to Schoology, which we'll talk about a little later. Also, of course, with the switch over to virtual, so many places are using Google Classroom, which we're going to talk about next week. So I still like the websites. I used one in my class even when I had a learning management system at LMS. That's what Schoology and Google Classroom and all are. I just thought it was a good home base for me. And if I ever left my school, I still have that information and can share with my social studies students and such. I'll actually show mine when we're doing the PowerPoint in a little bit. You're going to have your choice of which one you want to do, Weebly, Wix, or a Google. A lot of people like to use the Google. I've noticed in the last year or two, still not quite to the same level as Weebly. I used Weebly. It's just what I'm comfortable with, so I'm going to show you that. But they all kind of operate the same, and you are welcome to use these three or another one that you're comfortable with. So that is that with the technology. Those are the three that we're going to look at. Primarily Weebly, though. Oh, I do want to say one other thing, and I'll show you this. I used to have students, because these are very easy to use. I've actually had students in the past actually make websites. I'll show it to you here in a few minutes when we're doing the lecture, some that they did. But with all that being said, if we're going to go ahead and pop into everything, I do want to show you this. I'm already stopping myself. If you can see here, this website or the Sakai page is set up a little different than the first one because the assignments are on here. Anything that you need will be on here, but this is where you submit your website. This is where you submit your blog. You're going to do a blog on whether you would have a classroom website or not. Totally your opinion. Does not faze me if you think it's not worth it, if you have Schoology or whatever. Doesn't matter. I just want your feedback. And again, the blogs are always the tech. The discussions are always the book. If you need information on any of these, Wix, Weebly, or Google, just simply click right there. This is Wix. And I put up some how to use videos and such. So there you go. And just tell me, I try to keep up with these videos. Sometimes the technology is faster than the videos that I've put up. Last summer I caught one where Wix had kind of changed its format just a little bit so it didn't transcend. So if that happens, just let me know. But I think I watched them. Everything should relate easily if you're going to use any of them. But all right, so why don't we just go ahead and look at a few things related to this week, and we'll kind of get going. So let's rock and roll. The very first thing I wanted to talk about was actually your first discussion board. I just wanted to point this out and kind of just keep it in the back of your mind. I'm not going to go word for word with all of this stuff because you've read the article, so you kind of have it. But with that 5 minds for the future that was on the discussion board, I kind of like Gardner. I think he's a good way to kind of think about different types of accommodations and planning for your students. I'm not saying you have to have all 5 minds for the future in the back of your mind with every plan, but you need to try to address all these types of ways of thinking. Of course, you've probably heard about the multiple intelligence and 200, but as you can see, there's Howard Gardner, if you've ever seen him. And of course, if you read the article, you know the minds are the discipline mind. I'm going to post this up, this Prezi, actually, just in case you want to check it out. But that's the mind that masters one discipline. Again, it kind of, this Prezi, and this is not one that I made. I'm not going to even pretend that it's mine. But I liked it because it actually has some aspects of how these all relate to different types of technology. So, for example, the discipline mind, if they're an expert in one type of discipline like social studies, the internet provides so many new so much more information, videos and such, that mind can expand even more on that discipline. You know, access to knowledge is easier to come. I love how that's said. So that's one way you can utilize the discipline mind in technology. The second mind is the synthesizing mind. I got that out. I didn't know if I would. That's the ability to put information together. That's huge today. If you think about it, the internet gives us so many different ways to access information, newspapers, books, art, forums, videos, etc., etc. That mind's important as being able to connect. And you know, as we go through this, this might be something that you might want to think when you have your students and you have them in, you know, I'm not saying we all kind of know what students' strengths and weaknesses are. You start to identify the type of mind that they have. You might be able to do groups and kind of play on each other's strengths and weaknesses and things like that. We all have them. I would say I'm a disciplined mind if I was actually going through this. But another one is the creating mind, you know, fresh ways of thinking. This is the one where I think you can get a little creative. And technology it's getting to the point where I think it is a form of art. You know, the way you design PowerPoints, Photoshop, Prezi. Um, we're going to talk about websites, how you design your websites. It's all creating, and that's a technology kind of 21st century connection. The respectful mind, you know, you're aware of others. Now you're probably thinking, now how does that connect to technology? Well, one, you know, you can connect with other people all over the globe, as it says there, and it's highlighting, and you can kind of get more ideas of what can be done to help people. You can show examples in your classroom of different projects, different types of civic duties that people have done to kind of engage in that respectful mind. If you look at your standards that are actually connected to student improvement and all, a lot of times empathy is one of those things. So the respectful mind definitely connects to technology, or at least can benefit from technology. And the ethical mind, again, that's a kind of one that with technology can get a little tricky, but if you think about it, it's someone who does the right and responsible thing to do. You know, the role model, so to speak. This is something where technology can actually help, where, you know, they want fair justice and make sure that they do the right thing, so they expect other people to do the right thing. You know, that's utilizing different forms of technology, such as Turnitin, which is actually on Sakai. I don't have it turned on for our class, but you might have it for some. I know the English department likes to use Turnitin sometimes. And also you can do things where you search for plagiarism and things like that. So you can use it as a tool maybe to help with people who feel like everything needs to be equal and people shouldn't try to just cut and paste and put things on. So anyway, that's just a quick overview of the ethical mind and the five minds for the future, just how they relate to technology. I'll post this Prezi if you want to look at it in a little more detail, but I just wanted to throw that out there since you did a discussion board already on it. So with all that being said, I am going to pull up a PowerPoint. There we go. And I'm going to make this a little bigger. So what we're going to talk about today are websites. And actually, I'm going to throw something on here at the very end on e-planning, because I didn't put it on the syllabus, but I just wanted to share it with you. And if I didn't, I feel like I wouldn't be doing my job. So websites and e-planning, let's go. Using websites in the classroom. So that guy's saying, why do I need a website? Well, there's a lot of advantages to it for both you and your students. And actually, I left one important group out of there, of parents. It's also very important for parents, or can be very beneficial for parents. What are some of the advantages for a teacher? Well, for a teacher, you know, you can go to a paperless classroom. It's more environmentally friendly, so to speak, which I know a lot of us are paper. I like to think that I'm a paper person, but I have really made an effort to ditch that habit, because I'm finding if I have it in multiple places, it just confuses me. So I'm really trying to stick to being having it digitally saved. And actually, I'll show you how I've been doing that on the website, or at least I used to do it on the website with my middle school social studies classes. Also, accountability. You can post materials on the website. So if students say they lost it, all they have to do is go to the website and print it off that evening. Again, you may be asking, well, what if the students don't have the internet? Obviously, that could be a problem. You might need to make something work on that regard. But we're kind of dealing in a little bit of a utopia where everyone has it or has access to it. So accountability, post your materials. One thing I will say, some people I know that had websites weren't always really good about getting things up in a timely manner. I always loaded it up before I gave it out to the students, because that way I knew it was there and I wouldn't forget. And they sometimes would get home before I left school. And then when I would get home at like 6 o'clock, they've already emailed me at like 3 wondering why I hadn't emailed it, or why it wasn't posted. I learned that pretty quick. So what I'm basically saying is make sure you post it right up on the website right away. I'll tell you another thing about posting things ahead of time. I know a lot of people like to use the digital, you know, the Mimeo and the digital projections and things like that. You can just pull it up on the website, like handouts and such, if you've scanned them and posted them. And again, I'll show you that here in a minute. Differentiated instructions you can benefit using the website in that way. You know, assignments can be tiered for enrichment. You might have students that get things from one portion of the website, where you have students get things from another. Organization and management, it's, like I said, it's an easy way to find things. And communication, you can put your newsletters up, your blogs, your announcements, etc., etc., etc. And one other thing I want to say about websites, and I'll forget, even if you don't use the ones that I'm going to show you today, consider this. I know each of the counties actually have usually websites that you can use on theirs. Like maybe you had teachers that did it, like right on their school websites. They posted announcements or would put handouts. I just think it's a benefit to it, and it's a good cover yourself type thing to do. And if a student says, "I lost my handout," well, it was right there. Or a parent says, "I didn't know about that." Well, I know you didn't look at our learning management system on Schoology, but I also had it up on my website. And another thing, I held my students accountable when I posted things, because if I was taking the time to put these things up, I think them clicking on a website isn't that hard to do, especially when I'm pretty sure they all can navigate the internet at this point. So those are some advantages for the teacher. Advantages for the student, a collaborative learning. It's a creative way. Websites allow them to communicate on assignments and work. If they're both like talking, they can actually pull it up in multiple things if they don't, instead of giving them one handout. It also provides like a home base, a continuality of things where they can get things. Students are absent, they know where they can go and where the handouts of things they might miss will be located. This was something I thought my students were a little better at than parents, but parents would always email me if their son and daughter were out sick for some reason, which happened. But I would tell them, well, go to the website, and they were not always up to date, and the students would actually know where it is. So again, gives you kind of a home base to put things, and you can say, just go to the website, the handouts are there. Also, its relevance. I think it makes your class look like a 21st century skills or 21st century classroom. When you come in, I work with people. I don't know if it's too bad today, but I worked with people until the very end that were very devoted to the overheads. Not knocking overheads, but you can't even get bulbs for them. When the bulbs go out, it's craziness. At some point you have to come into the 21st century. I mean, we're 20 years into it at this point now. I lived in the 80s. Hey, it's a great time. I grew up in that time. But, at some point you got to call it a day and you got to get into the 21st century. Websites kind of reflect that a little bit. Whoops, as you can see, my little face was there. Not little face, my face. Advantage to parents, again, the communication aspects, it's there, they can check there. Also, it's nice for transparency. It allows parents to find new materials and tools for home use. Again, with students and with parents, you really do need, I hate to use the word train, but you do have to train them somewhat to go to these things, because I used to have students, well, can you send it to me? Can you scan it to me? And I always would say, listen, it's up on my website. You can get it right there. I've already scanned it and put it up. Just click on it. So that's, one thing. But it shows parents what you're doing in class, which is always, I think parents are interested in doing that, and just not what their students are saying, because I taught middle school for a long time. If parents would ask them what they were doing, a lot of times they were like, oh, nothing. Well, this gives you an opportunity to kind of show parents what you're doing. Also, and I kind of said this, but it makes parents more on the ball and encourages them and allows them to check what's going on. It can help their student, their child do assignments, or maybe if my notes are on there. I used to always post my notes. I mentioned this for differentiated instruction and such. A lot of times, copy of the notes is something, or provide a copy of the notes. And I always did, but just in case, again, they were lost, they were there, or the parents would have access to them. So that's a few of the advantages. I mentioned this. There are many different types of websites you can do for teachers. 3 of the more common ones are Google. It's called Google Sites, Weebly, and Wix. Again, I'm going to primarily show you Weebly just because that's the one I used. You are under no obligations if you feel like you're more familiar or more comfortable with the other 2, or some other website that you might use if you are already a teacher. I know some of our 500s are. If you have a website that the school provides and you've kind of built some of the stuff on there, you are welcome to use that as the example. All right, Weebly and Wix. They are both what we would call plug and play websites, and I'll show you that. But basically, you just drag and drop everything in as you build it. You're not doing any real coding or anything like that. You won't be doing this. You'll be doing this. You'll be using, I'm going to grab my mouse, be using a mouse mostly. Also, as I said, only because I'm familiar with it, I used to do National History Day. If anyone competed in that, and if you did the website category, they've actually ditched it last year, but they used to use Weebly. And Weebly actually provides numerous student accounts that you can do projects with too. I will be the first to warn you. And if you have been in the classroom already when technology is being used, you're probably going to have to alleviate or allot about uh, 15, 20 minutes and a lot of walking around to make sure your students are getting it. Because it does take students about 15 minutes to kind of understand how Weebly works. Some pick it up like that, some don't. But if you're just patient and you go around and show them, they'll get it. So that's one thing I've always found with any tech you've done in the classroom. You're just going to have to alleviate or allot. I keep saying alleviate. You're going to have to allot a little bit of time to let those students kind of mess around with it and ask you questions. Usually the first day is a little hard and you're going to probably bang your head on the wall and say, whoa, why am I doing this? If you would happen to try to do this. But after a day or two, I actually was always pleased with what the websites look like. I used to do it with 6th and 7th graders. And I think even one year I tried it with 8th graders I know I did, when we were doing West Virginia history. And all 3 times I actually came out, all 3 grades very happy. So anyway, this is, I'll pull it up here in a second individually, but that's what my website looks like. And as you can see, it's very simple. I just would put home, 8th grade social studies, 7th grade social studies, 6th grade social studies. The year I made this, I had taught all 3. And even if I didn't have all 3 one year, I would make sure that I just kept the materials up so I didn't have to reload it. I always put my social studies fair information up there. And as you can see, I hit more just to kind of show you, but National History Day, History Bowl, if you were in 8th grade, you may have participated in that. And one year, it wasn't any time recently, but right after I had made my Weebly page, I had to do a year of language arts for one section. I have an English minor, and one of the schools I was at was desperate. So I was on a 1-year permit for language arts to teach one section. It was a good experience. I learned a lot about teaching and approaches and things. Basically, what you're going to do when you create a Weebly site, and Wix operates the same way, but you're going to actually get a little toolbar like this. And you will click and you will literally, you can drag over. Now, as you see, when you first start, it's going to have a little block here and you'll be able to type in, like mine says, Dr. Allen's Social Studies page. If you want to add other things, you can literally click and drag it over. I'm going to show you that here in a second. And this is kind of what mine looked like. I talked about it. I kept it very simple. I found when I started to put more bells and whistles into it, it wasn't good. So I kept it very simple. Like anything I handed out or we went over in class or my notes, I just put in there. When we were talking about West Central Europe, history and geography in 7th grade, I put it all right there. PowerPoints, PDFs. I'll be the first to tell you, I do at most everything in PDFs because usually everyone can open PDFs. That's something for this class. If you take something out, I think PDFs are just kind of a safe way to save things and post, because I have Apple and some people don't always get that. If you have Apple and you don't have some form of Office opening or Keynote, sometimes doesn't do it. They might not be able to open certain things that you send. So PDF's usually a pretty safe one to do. As you can see there is a student account. You'll get it on there, and usually the students have that. I'm going to go show you my Weebly site here in a second, but this was like a cover that a student did. We were doing World War I presentations. It was right at the beginning of the year I tried to do it. I think this was about 4 years ago, and someone did the Red Baron. It was she did a GIF actually of Snoopy versus the Red Baron. I know he's not moving because this is a screenshot, but is it GIF or GIF? I always say GIF, but I know there's a debate about that. And there are 3 things they had to do they had to do a homepage, they had to do a biography of the person, and then they had to do some sort of informational video. Most of them embedded a YouTube video on it. All right, let me go back here real quick. I'm going to show you. I'm going to show you my site. Sorry, I'm just sitting here looking at a couple things. I know I had the screenshots, but there you go. As you can see here, this is the plug and play I was talking about. As you start to build things, you'll take them, and you see this, you can literally just drop them over. And that's kind of how you're going to build it. I will be the first to tell you, it can be a little quirky at first, and you may get frustrated. You may want to like make some sort of voodoo doll and like strangle me. Don't fight the urge, or don't tell me about it, or just ask questions. Mainly because you'll figure it out very easily. And actually, what you need to do is not that complex. I'll show you here in a second. But one thing you're going to have to do is you're going to fill in your title page, and usually that's already there. So you type that in. Then you're going to hit pages, and when you hit pages, you're just going to hit a plus sign right there, and it's going to create a new page. And then you're going to label that page. And what I'm going to ask you to do is embed something. You can embed a document, you can embed a video, just something. If you want, that's really all I'm asking for with the web page, because I don't know how far you're going to actually use it in the field, unless you really want to. Some of the other tech that we're going to do, we're going to get more detail, but I would like you to at least have done this just so you can say, yeah, I created a small website, or this might be something I would do with my students, et cetera, et cetera. So if you want to keep building it, that's fine. But you'll just hit that plus sign, and then you'll get another screen, and then you can go back to build, and you can drag over whatever you need. As you can see, you can put YouTube over there, you can put files, and you just would literally drag them over, like boom, boom. And that's pretty much it. Again, you might have to fiddle with it a little bit, and that's fine. Nothing wrong with that. That's kind of the whole point of the class, is to kind of get you using the tech. I think one time I was talking to one of my co-workers, and they said, you know, ed tech is a good Piaget type class, because you have to learn through experience and through trial and error and through learning and things like that. So you can kind of think you're in a little bit of a Piaget experiment. If you don't know who Piaget is, we need to go back and do some foundations and things like that. I think everyone does, though. All right. Another thing I wanted to show you, and I think I have it on my PowerPoint. I'll come back to the assignment. I use this. Again, I know Schoology has a version of this, but when you're out in the field, and especially because I know 380 a lot of times is a launching pad for people who are going to go do their student teaching in the next semester, you're going to run into a lot of teachers who use electronic plan books. I started to use one my last couple years. I'll admit I'm very pro doing it. There's different ones. They're kind of a preference. One I was going to show you, I actually had to renew because it ends every August. It does cost money. This one is $15 a year. I thought it was well worth it. It's called planbook.com. It's a small cost. It's a paper saver. A lot of the same things with with the website. But I'm just going to show you, this is mine. This was from an old year. But no, that's 2018, so that's not too bad. You can load whatever you want. It's, again, something that you have to fiddle with. You are under, by the way, no obligations to even sign up for this or use it. I just want to share it because there's no real opportunity other in the class for this, so I thought you might like to see it. But when you go in here, you can literally add state standards. They're embedded in there. You can add all your handouts. You can kind of do your student. I didn't do student will be able to. I just did student W, but that's fine. It was mine, so I can read it. Any notes that I had to have and such. So that's just planbook.com. I'm not going to get too bogged down with it, so to speak, but if you ever want to like check out electronic planning, that's one that I would recommend. So this week, you need to do a website. What does that entail? Here's the activity. This is posted up under assignment on Sakai. There is tutorials for each one for Google, Wix, and for Weebly. If this doesn't help you, or you don't think that you can figure it out by fiddling with it, watch one of those YouTube videos. They'll definitely give you the heads up, or email me. We can get together and I can definitely help with that. You're going to sign up for that website, Wix, Weebly, or Google. And really, I don't have too much that I want you to do with the sites other than to just kind of tinker with it. I want you to do a title page with your name. You can do your teacher name, your class, however you want to do it. I want you to create a sub page. That's where I was showing you back, I think I got it, where you're going to hit this, and you're going to hit that plus sign, and that'll create one of these. You can name it right over here, and then you just go back to build. You're going to create that sub page. Again, there is a tutorial posted, but on that sub page, all you need to do is either put another link, a handout, a video, whatever you want. If you can do the title, the subpage, and put the video link, whatever you want to put on that subpage, you've met my requirements for this assignment. I just want you to kind of fiddle with it a little bit. Again, if you have any problems, you can contact me and you can submit this on Sakai. If you look right here, you're just going to click right there and you will submit it. Let me do it through Student View so you can actually see it a little better. Haha, that's even better. You can't see it at all because I don't have it open yet. Give me 1 second. I'll fix that real quick. Boom. As you can see, it'll be right there for you. You'll just click it and you'll submit it. You can just submit the link. If you really are having a difficult time with it, don't worry, just email me and just email me the link. But I don't think you will. Just you'll get the student link. Actually, it will give you the link right. Go back. Actually, I'll just publish that real quick. If you publish it, it'll give it to you. Boom, right there. And you can always go back to the regular old Weebly site too. So let me try to get out of this. I'm just going to cross that out. But that is basically all you need to do this week with EdTech. Create that website, do that blog, and contact me with any questions. If you haven't already done your discussion board, please make sure you get that done. But other than that, that's it. Thanks for bearing with me. I know online class, we were online to begin with, but again, if you have any problems or questions, please contact me. I'll probably say this 6 million times, but with everything that's going on this semester, I don't want anyone to feel like they're lost or anything like that. And that should do it. So hope everyone stays safe. I think it's supposed to rain this weekend, so please, please be careful and see you later.